Today, we're diving into a really fascinating argument from an author who believes there's evidence for a greatest creator hidden all around us in the natural world. We're going to break down the case they make.
So the author starts with this huge, profound question. Is there some kind of super wisdom, some power out there guiding everything? This is the big mystery they're trying to solve. Okay, so where do they begin? Well, the first piece of evidence comes from something you might not expect, the humble bee. But, as the author argues, what bees create is actually a deep, complex puzzle.
I mean, think about it. This is a serious engineering challenge. Let's say you had to build thousands of tiny, strong, identical rooms. How would you design them so that you use the least amount of building material, hold the most stuff, and have zero wasted space? The author really wants us to think like an engineer here. As the author lays it out, if you try cylinders, you get all these gaps in between. Not very efficient. Okay, what about cubes? They fit together, sure, but the author points out the sharp corners aren't ideal for a round little larva. But the hexagon? It fits perfectly with every single neighbor, leaving absolutely no wasted space. It is, mathematically, the best shape for the job.
And this is exactly what bees build. With no blueprints, no architects, no supercomputers, they just instinctively build this flawless structure. The author really emphasizes that word, perfect.
And here's where it gets really wild: the precision. The author points out that bees were building their honeycombs with this exact angle for millions of years before humans even had the math to figure it out. It wasn't until the 18th century that mathematicians confirmed that, yep, 109.28 degrees is the single most economical angle possible. Now, to really drive the point home, the author brings in a quote from the father of evolution himself, Charles Darwin. According to this text, even Darwin had to admit that the honeycomb was so perfect that natural selection just didn't seem like a powerful enough explanation for it. All right, let's move on to the second mystery. The author shifts our focus from the hive to the egg and presents the hatching chick as another piece of evidence that's just as confounding. So picture this: for 21 days, a baby chick is growing in total darkness, completely sealed off from the entire world. It has no teacher, no instructions, no experience with life whatsoever. And this is the core question the author asks. When the time is right, that little bird has to pull off a pretty complex escape maneuver. So where does that knowledge even come from? The author kind of runs through the list of suspects here. Could it be the rooster? Nope, the author notes he's busy elsewhere. The mother hen? Well, if she could teach it, she could just as easily crack the shell for it. And it can't be learned, right? The chick is totally alone in there. So the conclusion they draw is that this isn't taught knowledge. It's not learned. It's just there. The chick simply knows what to do and when to do it. So you've got the brilliant bee and the escape artist chick. How does the author connect these two seemingly unrelated puzzles with one single, powerful concept they believe solves everything? And that concept is instinct. The author gives a very simple, direct definition. Instinct is a capability that you have from the moment you are born. It's unlearned knowledge. So here's how the author builds their case, step by step. First, they establish these skills are innate. They're just born with them. Second, they argue that a skill that's perfect right from the start couldn't be the result of slow, gradual evolution. And that leads them to their third and final point. If it didn't evolve, it must have been created. And this brings us right to the author's ultimate conclusion, that the mathematical genius of the bee, the survival know-how of the chick, these aren't just happy accidents of nature. In their view, these are carefully designed features, basically programmed into these animals by a greatest creator. And that's the core idea this author leaves us with. They're presenting these natural wonders not as random chance, but as evidence of a deliberate plan. So the question becomes, when we see a perfect, unlearned skill in nature, are we just looking at a quirk of evolution, or are we maybe seeing the signature of a designer?